Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys swinging by and checking today's video out. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today we're going to be giving some tips and advice for catching bass in January. Just sort of a foundational overview approach to some things you can do to catch fish during what is the coldest month of the year. So we're going to get into that in today's video. And also guys, it's December 28th or 29th right now. We've only got 2 more days left in our Solar Bass sale for the month of December. If you buy a pair of my RB3 series signature glasses in the month of December, you can get them at 50% off. Guys, I absolutely love these things. I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description if you want to get you a good pair at 50% off. You can use that link there, so much appreciated. Okay guys, January fishing. Now, I know a lot of guys don't fish in January. A lot of guys are sort of fair weather fishermen out there, and that's fine. But if you fish in January, I sort of want to give you guys some good tips that's going to really help you understand what the fish do and how to catch more fish. Because guys, I fish a lot in January. I probably fish more in January than I do in a lot of other months, because a lot of the on the water lessons that I do for jerkbait fishing, people want to go in January, which is a pretty good time for jerkbait fishing. So overall, you sort of have to approach the month of January different because it is a unique time. Now, the advice I want to give you, without making this a 2-hour long video, is one of the things that you have to consider in the month of January is that in most lakes across the country, you have 2 distinct populations of fish. You have the fish that are suspended in the wintertime, and then you have the fish that are still using the bottom. Now, this is what you have to make a determination on as far as before you decide how you're going to approach your day out there. You got to decide whether to fish for suspended fish or fish that are on the bottom. What I want to do here is I sort of want to give you some conditional advice that will help you make that choice a lot easier with that. Now, the determination of whether you should fish suspended or on the bottom has a lot to do with the lake that you're fishing. It has to do with the species of the lake as far as the bass in there, and it has to do with the water visibility. Not so much the water temperature, but the water visibility and the species. Now, if you have a lake that has got predominant largemouth bass in it, like that's the biggest population of fish that are in it, you're not going to have quite as many fish suspending in the month of January. But if you have a lake that has a lot of smallmouth bass, and especially spotted bass, there's going to be a lot of suspended fish, because spotted bass love to suspend in the wintertime. So that's going to be a pretty indicative thing to that as far as to remember. I'll give you a good example. If you're fishing here like in the Missouri Ozarks, or maybe some places like in Tennessee or Kentucky, where you have a lot of deep clear water lakes and mixed species, you're going to have a lot of fish to be caught suspended. But if you fish a lake like, say for example, Lake Eufaula in Alabama, which is predominant largemouth, not so much. Those fish are going to be more on the bottom there. Now, a lot of this also has to do with the geographical region of the country you're in, but there's still some truths that hold, regardless where you're at here. So that's what we're going to get into. So first of all, water clarity. One of the things that you're going to find out is the cleaner the water is in the lake that you're fishing, the more suspension you're going to have in the fish. The fish simply like to suspend more in the clear water for a wide different range of reasons there. And they also like to suspend more if you have some type of submergent timber. So if you have a lake that has clear water in it and a lot of submerged timber, say for example like Lake Hartwell in South Carolina or Lake Lanier in Georgia, there are going to be a lot of suspended bass in a scenario like that. And if you fish a lake, for example, like Grand Lake in Oklahoma, well-known bass fishing lake, water's a little bit more off-colored, you're going to have a lot more fish on the bottom, even though fish will still suspend in that water. But with the water clarity and being predominant largemouth, you're going to have more fish on the bottom. Now, in doing that, one of the things that little tips and advice I'll give you as far as how to catch these fish in the month of January is, guys, just fish points. Main lake points and secondary points are going to be the best places to catch fish in January. And also on points, you're going to have both on there. You're going to have both fish that are suspending on a point, and you're going to have fish that are on the bottom. Say for example, if you roll up to, we go to Table Rock Lake, water visibility, say 3.5 or 4 feet. If you roll up to about any main lake point, you might be able to catch a couple fish on a crankbait or a jerkbait on that point in less than 10 foot of water that are those fish that are living on the bottom. And then you might be able to go on the same point, move out farther into that 35 or 40 foot of water and start noticing shad out there suspended and start catching some bass suspended like on a little swim bait, something like that. For the suspended the fish in the wintertime, guys, one of the best lures is a small swim bait. Small swim bait is going to account for a lot of the suspended fish. You can fish it horizontally through the water column. You can count it down and fish it at different depths like that. So that's probably the number one thing if you want to target, suspended bass, is to throw like a little 2.5 or 3 inch swim bait. If you want to target fish on the bottom, things like a football head jig, a jerk bait, and a crankbait. If you fish a jerk bait shallow in the wintertime, those fish, it'll pull fish up off the bottom to catch those fish on a jerk bait, even though they have to come up to get it, especially if you have a day that has like clouds and wind on it. If you have a cloudy, windy day, low light day in the wintertime, even if the water is cold, those fish are going to be on the bottom more and they're going to be shallower. But if you've got one of those days where there's not much wind and it's a bright sky, look for those fish to be suspended. So anyway, guys, that's just a foundational piece of advice for fishing in January. It's a good time to fish, guys. I would rather fish, as far as, other than the fact it's uncomfortable, cold, I'd rather fish probably in January than any time during the fall. Fishing is usually a lot better. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later, guys. See you.